Most retirees never see this coming, the hidden cost that slowly drains your savings. Here's the simple secret that helped one couple save thousands before paying their next property tax bill. The biting wind, a familiar tormentor for 4 decades, still found its way through the worn seams of my winter coat, though it was the kind that had long since stopped whispering promises and instead simply gnawed at the bone. I stood there, on the porch of the house Maria and I had bought with our first savings, watching the last of the autumn leaves perform their frantic dying dance across our snow-dusted lawn in suburban New Jersey, and a chill far deeper than the weather seeped into my very marrow. It wasn't just the encroaching winter that threatened to freeze us, but a burgeoning dread, a slow, insistent drip of financial anxiety that had been eroding the foundations of our golden years, the ones we so painstakingly, so faithfully, toiled to build. I remembered the day we bought this place, the pride swelling in my chest like a robust engine, the way Maria's hand felt in mine, trembling slightly with the weight of our shared dream, a concrete piece of America we could call our own. And now, 40 years later, that dream, though fully paid for, felt less like an anchor and more like a slowly tightening noose. My name is Roberto, and for as long as I could remember, I had been a man who fixed things. Broken engines, leaky pipes, the stray tears of a worried Maria, the occasional adolescent defiance of our daughter Sophia. I approached each with the same methodical patience, the same deep-seated belief that with enough effort, enough understanding, anything could be made whole again. But this relentless siege of numbers and bills, this was different, an invisible enemy, insidious in its unwavering ascent. Maria, my steadfast Maria, who had navigated the labyrinthine hallways of hospitals as a nurse's aide, mending bodies and spirits with equal grace, now sat beside me at the kitchen table, that, her gentle fingers tracing the stark lines of our latest property tax bill, her usual vibrant spirit dimmed by the pallor of worry. Her sigh, soft as a falling snowflake, was louder to me than any storm. "Another 5%, Roberto," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "It's relentless. Even with the house paid off, we're still paying more now than we were with a mortgage 10 years ago." I rubbed the tired ache in my temples, a legacy of years spent hunched over greasy engines, coaxing life back into inert metal. "It's not just the property taxes, Carino," I reminded her, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "It's everything. The groceries, the gas, the co-pays for your new blood pressure meds. It feels like we're running a marathon uphill and the finish line just keeps moving further away." We had come to this country, Maria and I, with calloused hands and hearts full of audacious hope. We learned English in night classes, scraped together every penny, worked double shifts, dreamed in 2 languages. Our life, by any measure, was a testament to hard work and perseverance. We'd raised Sophia, sent her to college, watched her build her own successful life in the city. We had a comfortable, modest home, a retirement fund that once seemed adequate, and a lifetime of shared memories woven into the fabric of this place. We thought we had earned peace, a quiet harbor in our twilight years. But the currents of rising costs, the relentless grind of inflation, and a tax system that seemed to penalize prudence had begun to drag us out to sea. Our Social Security, a lifeline we had contributed to faithfully for decades, was itself a target. "Did you know," I'd found myself telling Maria one night, poring over a bewildering government pamphlet, "that New Jersey taxes our Social Security income? Our own money, that we worked for, that we need to live on. They take a piece of it right off the top." It felt like a betrayal, a final insult to the weary bones of those who had played by the rules. We weren't wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, just two old folks trying to keep our heads above water, trying not to become a burden on Sophia, who already carried the weight of her own ambitions and responsibilities. The thought of needing her help, of her seeing the worry etched on our faces, was a shame I found difficult to swallow. I prided myself on my independence, on being the one who provided, who protected. The idea that this carefully constructed fortress of self-reliance was crumbling filled me with a quiet, desperate rage. Then came Sophia, a whirlwind of modern efficiency and fierce, protective love, bursting into our quiet, worried evenings with an energy that simultaneously exhausted and invigorated us. She sat at our kitchen table, her laptop glowing like a portal to another world, and spread out charts and articles, her brow furrowed with a seriousness that mirrored our own. Beau mais, she began, her voice soft but firm, a tone she reserved for important family declarations. I've been doing some research, about places where your money would actually stretch. I eyed her skeptically. Stretch? Like a cheap pair of socks, Mija? What magic trick are you talking about? My generation, we believed in grit, in working harder, not in magic tricks. No magic, Beau, she smiled, a flicker of her old playfulness returning. Just smart choices. Did you know there are states in this country that don't have a state income tax? No state income tax on your pensions, on your investment income, not even on your Social Security. Maria, usually so reserved, leaned forward, her eyes wide. No state income tax? But that's thousands of dollars, Sophia. Exactly, Mommy. And it's not just that. Some of these states offer incredible property tax exemptions for seniors or low property taxes overall. I've been looking at Florida. She turned the laptop to show us vibrant images of sunny beaches, palm trees swaying against a cerulean sky, retirement communities bustling with active seniors. It felt like an alien planet compared to our gray, snow-battered New Jersey landscape. My skepticism, usually a sturdy shield, began to crack. But that's so far. Our friends, our church, the memories. The words trailed off, a lump forming in my throat. This house, these streets, they were more than just bricks and mortar, asphalt and curb. They were the silent witnesses to our lives, to Sophia's childhood, to decades of shared laughter and tears. I know, Beau, Sophia said, her voice laced with understanding. It's a huge change. But think about it. Here, every year, you're watching your hard-earned money disappear into taxes. In a place like Florida, a significant chunk of that stays in your pocket. Imagine not having to worry about that rising heating bill or those brutal property tax assessments. Imagine having enough to actually enjoy your retirement, not just survive it. She wasn't just talking numbers. She was talking about dignity, about the peace of mind we craved. That night, after Sophia had left, Maria and I sat in silence for a long time, the glow of the street lamp casting long shadows across our living room. The idea, initially unthinkable, began to take root, a small, stubborn sprout pushing through the hardened earth of our preconceived notions. We talked, truly talked, until the early hours, revisiting our past, our dreams, and the stark reality of our present. Maria remembered how my hands, once strong and nimble, now ached with a deep, persistent tremor after a long day. I remembered her quiet complaints about the cold, the way her bones stiffened in the damp New Jersey winters. The seed Sophia had planted began to unfurl, revealing the faint, hopeful blush of a new possibility. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about reclaiming the future we thought we had lost. The decision, when it finally solidified, felt less like a choice and more like an inevitability, a necessary evolution. We were not abandoning our past, but rather carrying its lessons forward, adapting, just as we had adapted when we first arrived in this sprawling, complicated country. The house, our beautiful, steadfast house in New Jersey, suddenly felt like a heavy anchor, pinning us down while the winds of change tugged at our sails. We put it on the market, a difficult, emotionally fraught process that felt like shedding a part of ourselves. Each potential buyer who walked through our home was a ghost of our own history, evaluating not just floorboards and counter space, but the very essence of our lives. Remember when Sophia scraped her knee right here by the fireplace? Maria would murmur, her voice thick with unshed tears, as we watched a young couple envisioning their own future in our living room. She cried for hours, and you carried her like she weighed nothing. I remembered. All of it. The Christmases, the birthdays, the long nights spent helping Sophia with homework at the very kitchen table where we now discussed our exodus. Goodbyes, I realized, were rarely clean breaks. They were messy, complex, interwoven tapestries of regret and hope. Our friends, our community, the faces in the grocery store, the familiar nods at Sunday Mass, the countless barbecues in Mrs. Goldberg's backyard, all felt like threads being snipped, one by one. I saw the sadness in their eyes, the unspoken question of why, after all these years, we were uprooting ourselves. But I also saw a flicker of understanding, a quiet recognition of the financial pressures that squeezed so many of us in this stage of life. Our farewell gathering at the local community center was a bittersweet affair, a potluck of familiar dishes and tearful embraces. Old man Henderson, who lived 2 doors down and whose lawn I'd helped mow for years after his hip surgery, clapped me on the shoulder, his voice raspy. Roberto, you're a good man. You're a good man. You deserve a little sunshine, a little peace. Don't you worry about this old neighborhood. We'll keep the lights on for you. His words, simple and heartfelt, felt like a benediction. It wasn't easy. Nothing truly meaningful ever is. But beneath the layers of melancholy, a fragile excitement began to bloom. The unknown, once terrifying, now shimmered with the promise of a lighter existence. The drive south was a blur of highway miles, packed boxes, and the quiet hum of the moving truck that carried the sum total of our earthly possessions, a condensed history of our lives. Maria slept fitfully beside me, her head nestled against the passenger window, occasionally murmuring the names of distant relatives in her dreams. I drove, my mind a kaleidoscope of memories and projections, the rearview mirror reflecting the shrinking skyline of the life we were leaving behind, the windshield revealing an ever-expanding horizon. As we crossed the Florida state line, the air grew noticeably warmer, softer, carrying the faint saline scent of the ocean. It felt like shedding a heavy cloak, step by arduous step. Our new home in Florida was smaller, a modest 2-bedroom bungalow nestled in a quiet, tree-lined community filled with other retirees. It lacked the sprawling yard of our New Jersey home, the decades of history infused into its walls, but it radiated a sense of lightness, a sun-drenched cheerfulness that instantly began to soothe our travel-weary souls. The first day was a flurry of unpacking, of finding places for the familiar artifacts of our lives. Maria's hand-embroidered tablecloth, my collection of vintage tools, Sophia's baby pictures that always found a place of honor. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues I hadn't seen in years, we sat on our small, screened-in porch, sipping lukewarm coffee, and I felt a profound sense of peace settle over me. It was a strange, almost disorienting sensation after so many years of simmering worry. The financial relief was almost immediate, a tangible presence in our new lives. The first grocery store visit felt different. Maria, usually meticulous about budgeting every dollar, paused by the organic produce, a rare indulgence in our New Jersey days. "Look, Roberto," she whispered, her eyes sparkling, "these tomatoes are on sale, and the milk is almost $1 less than home." It wasn't a fortune, but it was a small, liberating shift. But the real seismic shift came with the mail. Our first property tax bill arrived, thinner, less menacing than its New Jersey counterparts. "Maria, look," I exclaimed, my voice a little louder than usual. "The homestead exemption." Sophia was right. Florida, bless its sunny heart, offered a significant property tax reduction for primary residents, a benevolent gesture towards those who chose to make it their permanent home. For us, it meant thousands of dollars less each year, a substantial portion of our annual budget suddenly freed up. It felt like receiving a bonus, a cosmic dividend for daring to make a change. "It's like a shield, isn't it?" Maria mused, running her finger over the numbers. "A shield protecting us from the endless creep of those property taxes." She was right. Where New Jersey had felt like a relentless siphon drawing money from our diminishing reserves, Florida felt like a gentle hand offering support. Then there was the absence of state income tax. My pension, Maria's small earnings from occasional part-time caregiving she picked up to keep busy, even our Social Security, all were now untaxed at the state level. The combined effect was staggering. Sophia, with her spreadsheets and meticulous calculations, estimated that between the lack of state income tax and the homestead exemption, we were saving close to $20,000 a year. $20,000. It wasn't just a number, it was a revelation. It was the ability to breathe a little deeper, to sleep a little sounder, to look at the future not with dread, but with a quiet, confident anticipation. This newfound financial breathing room allowed me to indulge in my old passion for reading, particularly about finance and economics, a habit I'd suppressed during our years of constant struggle. I found myself poring over articles, discussing the nuances of market trends with noon friends at the community center, and sharing insights with Maria over our morning coffee on the porch. The world of financial planning, once a distant, intimidating mountain, now felt like a navigable terrain full of possibilities. "Did you know, Mija?" I told Sophia during one of her weekly video calls, holding up a printout from a financial news site. They're predicting another good cost of living adjustment for Social Security next year, around 3.2% for 2025. It's not a huge jump, but every little bit helps, especially for folks like us trying to keep pace with inflation. I felt a familiar spark of my younger self, the one who loved to understand how things worked, how to optimize them. It wasn't just about passively receiving, it was about actively managing. And, I continued, warming to my topic, even though we're mostly retired, those who might pick up a part time gig or have some other income can still make those catch up contributions to their IRAs. For us older folks over 50, it's an extra $1,000 a year you can put in on top of the regular limit, probably hitting 8 grand for 2025. It's a smart move to keep growing that nest egg and reduce taxable income if you can swing it. Maria, bless her heart, would nod along, occasionally interjecting with a perceptive question, reminding me that while my head might be in the numbers, her heart was always on the practical impact, the human element. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. We joined a local walking club, discovered a fantastic Cuban restaurant that reminded Maria of her mother's cooking, and even took up a beginner's salsa class, much to Sophia's amusement when we sent her a video. The worry lines on Maria's face, once deeply etched, began to soften, replaced by the gentle crinkles of laughter. We were living, truly living, for the first time in what felt like decades. The quiet hum of the air conditioner, a new luxury we now appreciated every day, was the only sound accompanying our afternoons and siestas. Then, one sweltering afternoon, as if the universe decided we were getting too comfortable, the hum faltered, sputtered, and died. The Florida heat, a welcome embrace just moments before, became a suffocating blanket pressing in from all sides. I tried the usual troubleshooting, checked the circuit breaker, fiddled with the thermostat, but nothing. The silence of the dead AC unit was deafening, a stark, unwelcome reminder of the unforeseen vulnerabilities that still lurked beneath the surface of our peaceful existence. I called a local repairman, a jovial fellow named Miguel, who arrived within the hour, his face beaded with sweat. After a thorough inspection, he shook his head, a grim expression replacing his usual smile. Mr. Roberto, I'm afraid she's kaput. The compressor's blown and the whole system is ancient. Trying to patch it up would be throwing good money after bad. You're looking at a full replacement, and with installation, that's going to run you north of $8,000. $8,000. The number hung in the air like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. It wasn't an impossible sum, not with our new savings, but it was a substantial chunk of our carefully guarded emergency fund, the one we'd earmarked for something truly catastrophic, like a major medical bill, not a mere appliance. The familiar knot of anxiety, a sensation I thought I'd banished, began to tighten in my stomach. Maria, sensing my distress, put a comforting hand on my arm, but her eyes, too, mirrored the re-emerging shadow of worry. We have to replace it, Roberto, she said, her voice resigned. We can't live without AC here in Florida. We're not as young as we used to be. I know, Carino, I sighed, running a hand through my thinning hair, but that's a big hit. And what if something else comes up? The car, a medical emergency. We're not as liquid as I'd like to be for these kinds of unexpected blows. We worked so hard to build up this peace of mind, and now? I didn't finish the sentence, but Maria knew. The fear of being back where we started, penny pinching and stressed, was a specter we both wanted to keep firmly locked away. I hated the thought of having to dip into our long-term retirement savings, the funds intended for the distant future for our ultimate security. It felt like regressing, like taking 2 steps backward after finally taking 1 step forward. Sophia, sensing our renewed anxieties during our next video call, noticed the slight slump in my shoulders, the subtle tremor in Maria's voice. She'd always been acutely perceptive, inheriting her mother's empathy and my own knack for problem solving. What's wrong, Bo? You both look like you've seen a ghost. We explained the AC predicament, the sudden $8,000 hole in our carefully balanced budget. She listened patiently, her expression thoughtful. You know, she said after a moment, I've been thinking about something else, a solution that could give you both a lot more financial flexibility, not just for this AC, but for anything that comes up. She paused, took a deep breath. Have you ever considered a reverse mortgage? The words hit me like a cold splash of water. Reverse mortgage. The very phrase conjured images of predatory lenders, desperate seniors, and lost homes. It was a term whispered with trepidation in our community, something people joked about darkly, a last resort for the truly desperate. My generation, we were taught to pay off our homes, to own them free and clear. The idea of mortgaging in reverse felt fundamentally un American, a betrayal of the very principles of homeownership we had worked so hard to uphold. Sophia, no, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. I've heard stories. Those are for people who've run out of options, who are about to lose everything. We still have options. We own our home outright. We don't want to put it at risk. Bo, please, Sophia pleaded, her voice earnest. Just hear me out. There are so many misconceptions about reverse mortgages, and I think a lot of them come from old information or bad apples in the past. It's a financial tool, Bo, like any other. And for people in your exact situation, homeowners who are over 62, who own their home free and clear, and who want to stay in their home but need access to some of that equity without selling, it can be incredibly powerful. You still own the house. You don't make monthly mortgage payments. The loan only becomes due when you no longer live there or when the last borrower passes away. Maria, ever the open-minded one, looked at me, her gentle gaze asking me to listen. Roberto, if Sophia says it's different now, maybe we should at least hear more. We listen to her about everything else, don't we? Her words, soft as they were, carried the weight of our shared history, of her unwavering trust in Sophia's judgment. I sighed, the stiffness in my shoulders beginning to ease, just a fraction. All right, Mija, I conceded. Tell us more. But I'm going to need to understand every single detail, every clause, every potential pitfall. I'm not risking our home, not for anything. And so began our deep dive into the world of reverse mortgages, guided by Sophia's tireless research and her introduction to a financial expert named Mr. Davies. Mr. Davies was not the slick, fast-talking salesman I had envisioned. He was a man in his late 50s, with kind eyes and a patient, methodical demeanor, a reassuring presence that immediately put me at ease. He spoke not in jargon, but in clear, concise language, weaving in anecdotes and real-life examples that brought the complex concepts down to earth. Mr. and Mrs. Perez, he began, his voice calm, I understand your apprehension. For years, reverse mortgages carried a stigma, and rightfully so in some instances, where unscrupulous lenders preyed on vulnerable seniors. But the industry has changed dramatically, especially with the FHA-insured home equity conversion mortgage, or HCM, which is what we primarily deal with. This is a highly regulated product designed with safeguards to protect homeowners like yourselves. He explained that with the HECM, we would retain full ownership of our home. It wasn't a transfer of title, as I had feared. We simply took out a loan against a portion of our home's equity, and that money could be received as a lump sum line of credit or monthly payments or a combination. The loan would only become due when we moved out, sold the home, or passed away. Even then, our heirs would have the option to pay off the loan and keep the house or sell it. The most crucial safeguard, he emphasized, was that it was a non-recourse loan, meaning if the home's value ever dropped below the loan balance, our heirs would never be personally liable for the difference. The lender could only look to the home itself as collateral. Think of your home, Mr. Roberto, Mr. Davies elaborated, as a vault. You've spent a lifetime filling that vault with value, with equity. For most of your life, that value was locked away, only accessible if you sold the home. A reverse mortgage is like a key, allowing you to access a portion of that stored wealth to unlock it and use it to enhance your quality of life without having to give up the home itself. He spoke of it as a tool for autonomy, for maintaining independence, for preventing the very anxieties that had been plaguing us. It wasn't for everyone, he stressed. It made the most sense for those who had significant equity, who intended to stay in their home long term, and who needed access to cash flow for expenses, home improvements, or simply to alleviate financial stress. We see many clients who are house rich but cash poor, Mr. Davies explained, his gaze direct and empathetic. They have a beautiful, paid-off home, but limited liquid assets, and unexpected expenses or rising costs threaten their comfortable retirement. A reverse mortgage can bridge that gap, providing a financial buffer, a safety net, allowing them to truly enjoy the fruits of their labor without constantly worrying about depleting their savings or becoming a burden on their children. His words resonated deeply with me. It wasn't about desperation, it was about prudent planning, about utilizing an asset we had built over a lifetime to ensure our continued well being. The fear, initially a formidable wall, began to crumble, replaced by a cautious understanding, a flicker of hope. Maria, who had listened intently, looked at me, her eyes reflecting her growing clarity. "It makes sense, Roberto," she said softly. "It makes a lot of sense, especially now." The process was thorough, involving counseling from a HUD-approved agency, another layer of protection to ensure we fully understood all the implications. It took time, required careful consideration, and yes, there were fees involved, just like with any mortgage. But as we weighed the pros and cons, the undeniable truth emerged. This was a viable, intelligent solution for us. It would provide us with a substantial line of credit, accessible as needed, allowing us to not only replace our AC system immediately, but also create a significant financial buffer for any future unforeseen expenses without touching our precious retirement accounts or feeling like a burden on Sophia. It was a bridge to continued peace of mind, a way to ensure our remaining years were lived with dignity and without the constant gnawing worry about money. The day the new air conditioning unit hummed to life, a gentle, cool breeze filling our home felt like a victory. It wasn't just the comfort, it was the quiet confidence that settled over us, the knowledge that we had faced a challenge, adapted, and emerged stronger. We had made a bold move across states, a daring leap of faith, and then, when faced with a new unexpected hurdle, we had learned, understood, and made another smart decision. The financial flexibility a reverse mortgage afforded us wasn't about extravagance, it was about resilience, about being prepared, about ensuring we could continue to live our lives on our own terms. Sitting on our porch, watching the glorious Florida sunset paint the sky in impossible shades of orange and purple, Maria's hand nestled comfortably in mine, I felt a deep, abiding contentment. The worries that had once overshadowed our New Jersey evenings now seemed distant, like faded photographs. We had built a life, lost a piece of it, and then rebuilt it again, piece by painstaking piece, in a new land under a warmer sun. We had learned that retirement wasn't a static destination, but a dynamic journey, requiring continuous adaptation, open-mindedness, and the courage to challenge old assumptions. "Remember that old saying, cariño?" Maria murmured, her voice soft as velvet. "You can't teach an old dog new tricks." She squeezed my hand, a playful glint in her eye. "Well, I think we just proved them wrong, didn't we, Roberto? We learned plenty of new tricks." I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile that reached my eyes. "We certainly did, Maria, and it tastes sweeter than any victory I ever imagined." We had not just saved money, we had saved our peace, our joy, our ability to truly live the rest of our lives, not just survive them. It was a testament to the enduring power of love, of family, and of the unwavering human spirit that, even in the twilight years, seeks not just comfort, but growth, understanding, and the quiet dignity of a life well lived and well managed. We had found our own version of the American dream, a sun-drenched, financially secure haven where every sunset felt like a blessing, and every sunrise a renewed promise. Hey everyone, it's your host, and wow, what a journey Roberto and Maria took us on, right? Their story isn't just about moving states or financial strategies. It's about resilience, about the incredible power of adapting, of challenging what you think you know, and finding the courage to embrace a new path. It's about believing that peace of mind in retirement isn't just a dream, but an achievable reality, even when life throws those unexpected curveballs. If Roberto and Maria's story resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of hope or a new idea, then please hit that like button. Your likes help this message reach more people who might be facing similar anxieties, reminding them that they're not alone and that solutions exist. Think about how many times you've heard about someone struggling with retirement finances or feeling trapped by rising costs. Roberto and Maria showed us that change, even a radical one, can be the key to unlocking true freedom. If you know someone who needs to hear this story of adaptability and financial empowerment, someone who might be quietly worrying about their golden years, do them a favor and share this video. You could be the catalyst for their own journey towards peace. And I want to hear from you. What was the biggest financial worry that kept you up at night? Or maybe, what's a big decision you made that radically changed your financial outlook for the better? Drop a comment below and share your own experiences. Let's build a community of wisdom and support here. Your story, your insights could be the exact piece of advice someone else desperately needs to hear. Roberto and Maria's initial skepticism about the reverse mortgage is so common, but their willingness to learn to truly understand transformed their lives. It's a powerful reminder that education is key. Don't let fear or misinformation hold you back from exploring all your options. What's one financial topic you've always been curious about but were too intimidated to research? Let me know in the comments, and maybe we can explore it in a future video. Finally, if you found value in Roberto and Maria's journey and you want more stories of real people making smart, empowered choices, then please subscribe to our channel. Join our community. Let's continue to explore how we can all live our best, most financially secure lives. Don't wait for your own AC breakdown moment to start thinking strategically. Take a page from Roberto and Maria's book, Adapt, Learn, and Thrive. What's one step you're going to take today to invest in your future peace of mind? Let me know. And remember, every step, no matter how small, moves you closer to the life you deserve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.